Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. The first topic I want to cover is my health right now, because otherwise people might be wondering, why do I sound maybe a little bit nasally or, a little scratchy throat or something like that. Additionally, you may see more jump cuts in this video just because it's me editing out either a cough or a sniffle or something like that, or I just lose my voice briefly. But 2 weeks ago today, I was working out. It was a push day, so I start with squats, and I got about half the number of reps that I normally do, and just all of a sudden I was gassed. I had nothing left in the tank. Next day was a pull day, and I start that with deadlifts, and again, same thing, just no strength. And I thought, okay, it's rare that I string together 2 back-to-back days where I'm feeling sort of weak. Aside from that, I didn't have anything. So I thought, maybe it's sort of, I'm like in a biorhythm trough or something like that, and I'll bounce back. But as the days went on, I started feeling crummier and crummier, just sort of achy, kind of flu-like, a lot of coughing, a sore throat, nasal congestion and drainage and stuff like that. And it's weird because since going keto, I have been largely disease resistant. I mean, pre-keto, I got sick a lot. I mean, I would have strep at least once a year. I would have sinus infections a couple of times a year, and then just some other random ailment here and there. And since going keto, I haven't really had that. When I had COVID, I believe that I had it twice. I didn't test the first time, but I was rocked pretty hard for like 2 days, but then gone. I was better. And this would have been early in 2020, and it was only after the fact that people started finding out about all the symptoms of COVID, and I checked all the boxes on that. So I'm assuming probably had it back then, and then later on I had it in 2021, I think, and lost my sense of smell and taste for a couple of weeks. But aside from that, I was asymptomatic. So anyhow, I'm feeling like I can't be defeated by a disease. So this, after about a week of just feeling really, really like garbage, I decided, all right, I'm going to urgent care. I went, they tested me for flu, they tested me for strep, they tested me for COVID, and they tested me for RSV. I was negative on the first 3, but positive for RSV. And I guess RSV, this respiratory something virus, is more prevalent in children. And my grandson Colton had been sick in the weeks prior, so I think maybe he had it and I got it from him. Anyhow, I'm on now 2 weeks of still not feeling fantastic, and it's kind of screwed up a few things. It's screwed up my video shooting schedule. It screwed up my ability to do voiceovers. So I've recorded some cooking videos where it's just the filming of the food making, and then I go in after the fact into the video editing software and record a voiceover for it. Haven't been able to do that because I really haven't had much of a voice, and if I have, it's either been sort of raspy and nasally and congested and stuff like that. But what has further been screwed up by this is, and I had announced this in a previous podcast, my plan to do the whole 30-day challenge sort of thing again this year. Not so much a challenge as just trying out a different exercise or an exercise tool or gadget or some way of eating, kind of altering my way of eating for 30 days or a supplement or something like that. Trying that out for 30 days and seeing what the results are, if any. And I had started January with jumping rope. I'd gotten these actual ropeless jump ropes. They're handles and they're on ball bearings, and then there's little weights on the end so you can simulate the jumping rope movement and then just jump. But what happened the very first day I was doing that, I got this massive cramp in my right calf, and it stuck with me for about a week. I don't know what it was. I've never had anything like that. So I thought, could I do something that's less impactful, something that's not going to bother my calf so much? And I bought I think it's called Ring Adventure or Ring Fitness Adventure or something like that. It's for the Nintendo Switch. And started recording that and was having a lot of fun doing that. I was recording the video for it and all that. So all of this is probably going to wind up being now a February 30-day challenge, but was just sort of starting to get going on that when I got sick. So basically, January has been kind of a screwed up month in terms of video. I hope to get, first, I hope that it hasn't impacted any of you terribly much, but I hope to get back on track. I've got a lot of footage, cooking footage already put together, and it's just a matter of me editing it, doing voiceovers, intros, outros, etc. And I know that that was something that was kind of lacking towards the tail end of last year, kind of all of fourth quarter. I wasn't getting the cooking videos out as often as I should. And now I'm prepped to be on a schedule of kicking them out every week, probably once a week, maybe periodically twice a week. But that is the update on my health and the channel. I believe I mentioned in a previous podcast, I don't know if it was the last one or the one before it, but the fact that almost every time I do a podcast, the next week I need to recover something either because I didn't explain it well enough or it was misunderstood or people's biases maybe just got in the way and they heard something that I didn't say. And that was the case last week or the last podcast I did where I talked about how LMNT had approached me and wanted to know if I would do mid-video promos for them. And I said no. Some people felt that I was insulting LMNT, the product or the company. I was not. I've never tasted it, so I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I would have it. I would just love it and be totally kicking myself for telling them no. And in fact, if they wanted to send me some for a review, I'd be happy to do that. And in terms of the company, I haven't interacted with them. It wasn't even actually them that contacted me. They had a third party contact me. And so I don't know what it's like to do business with them or anything. So I have no opinion whatsoever of LMNT. There were also some comments that I got from some people who thought that I was kind of going after some of the channels that do mid-roll promos. And this is despite the fact that I said probably 2 or 3 times that I'm not throwing shade. So let me say once again, content creators can do whatever they want. I respect what they do. You got to get a paycheck. If that's how they want to do it, that is well within their rights, and I'm not going to speak ill of it. And in fact, probably sometimes I'm a little bit idealistic at my own detriment. If really all it is me saying for 30 seconds or a minute how wonderful LMNT is, provided I tried it and actually felt it was wonderful, and they're willing to throw some money at me, maybe I'm the stupid one for not taking that deal. But I just want to clarify, I have no issues with the product or the company or with any content creator that does mid-roll ads for LMNT or probably any product. I mean, if they believe in it and it makes sense for them to do, then they ought to do it. The next topic I want to cover is one that I cover probably once a quarter, and that is the topic of people linking videos to me, sending me videos and saying, Steve, watch this video, make this recipe, and do a review. And I've been getting a lot more of those lately, which is why I'm bringing it up again here. That is not something that I do. That's not my swim lane. I prefer to make my own recipes. And in fact, I was looking at on my phone, I've got a list in Apple Reminders or whatever it's called, and I see that there's like 86 or 87 potential recipes on there that I've listed that I want to do for this channel. So I've got plenty. I've got plenty of my own stuff to do. And there are other channels that do such a good job at reviewing other people's recipes. The Keto Twins, for example, it's clear they're having a ball. When Sarah and Emily try out a TikTok recipe or somebody else's recipe and see how it works out, you can tell just how much fun they're having. They're fun to watch. They would be a good place to go. If you want someone to try out a recipe, talk to them. Or probably the king ruler, I think, of that sort of video is Wes Shoemaker from High Gluten Low Carb. I mean, he's made a name for himself doing these videos. He does a spectacular job. And on that subject, so I'm getting kind of a 2-for-1 on this, on that subject, it looks like he's going to start doing some videos again based on his Instagram feed. If you don't follow him on Instagram, he posted yesterday, I think it was yesterday, a picture of himself along with an older picture of himself, and he is really looking fantastic. He has lost some weight. He's really looking trim and fit and healthy, and I'm sure he'll probably talk about it on his channel, but he's looking spectacular, and it's going to be great to have him back because His release schedule's been kind of spotty. I think we've all noticed that, so clearly he's been taking care of himself and getting back in the right sort of physical and mental state. I can't say mental for sure, but I think most of the time when content creators take some time off, there's a good chunk of it that's mental. But clearly, whatever he is doing physically is working for him because he looks spectacular. So great job, Wes. Looking forward to seeing more videos soon. I used to, during this podcast, from time to time, talk about some of the really negative and nasty comments that I get from people. And I hope you notice that I don't really do that anymore. I'll talk about comments where there's a misunderstanding or a place where I feel I need to do a little bit of clarification. But I don't give airtime anymore to trolls and to zealots and dogmatic people and anti-keto people and things like that. It's not part of the podcast. I get kind of drags things down a little bit. I also mentioned in a previous podcast that my personal approach to comments on my channel was to not be so obsessed with trying to answer them all. I now just carve out a block, like 15 minutes a day. I get through as many as I can. I'll read them. Sometimes I'll throw out a heart or a comment reply or something like that. Know that I read them, but I don't get obsessed with feeling like I have to reply to all of them. And one of the things that I've noticed, and this is not a Steve-specific or a Serious Keto-specific channel thing. It's not a keto-specific thing. It's an internet thing, which is just, there's a lot of nastiness out there in comments. I find no matter what topic I get out onto, and I think, wow, I wonder if there'll be some interesting dialogue in the comments, how little scrolling I need to do before things start turning toxic. It's unfortunate. But I guess it is also sort of, in sort of a misery loves company sort of way. It takes away a little bit of my victim mentality to see that other people go through it as well. And one of the places that I saw it recently was on Dr. Eric Westman's channel, Adapt Your Life. Now, long-term viewers, and probably short-term viewers as well, know that I'm a big fan of Dr. Eric Westman. I love his book, End Your Carb Confusion. I love his nature. He's a very calm guy. He's pragmatic. He's not a zealot. He can politely disagree with people or acknowledge, yeah, what you're doing may work for you, but maybe it's not the best for everyone. I adore the man. And he has come up with some great phrases that I love to use. And probably my favorite is his description of internet keto. So there is keto, the way keto was designed roughly 100 years ago. And then there's internet keto, which certain YouTube personalities and other online personalities, Facebook groups and so forth, have started adding all of these extra rules to keto and commandments and thou shalt this and thou shalt not that. And that is absolutely not what Dr. Eric Westman is, which is why I love him. And he had done a video recently on low-calorie or zero-calorie or zero-sugar drinks. And I think he covered some sort of sparkling water, and he covered Zevia. And when I first tasted Zevia, I wasn't a huge fan. It wasn't sweet enough for me. I've become a convert, though. I really enjoy Zevia. I have at least a can of it, maybe a couple of cans of it a day. I'm thrilled that both Costco and Sam's Club carries it so I can get it on the cheap, or at least cheaper than at a grocery store. But as I started scrolling through some of the comments on that particular video, it didn't take very long before the dogmatic people started coming out and giving him an earful, or a faceful, I guess, if they're typing. Maybe it's an earful if he's reading them out loud, but giving him the business, getting up in his grill about keto. And I just find that remarkably amusing. Dr. Westman has been practicing and teaching keto. He's a doctor. He's a medical doctor that has been doing this for 20 years or over 20 years at Duke University. I think he qualifies as an expert. And meanwhile, you get people that have probably been doing keto for less than a year that kneel at the altar of some of these other dogmatic keto channels and now are telling him how to do keto. Like I said, it's one of those things. It would be amusing if it weren't a little bit sad. And as much as I felt like jumping in and leaving a reply to some of these people, I've just found it's not worth the time. People are going to believe what they want to believe. There's no convincing something of something else on the internet. It's just been my discovery. People would rather be right and be convinced they're right and be told they're right and exist in an echo chamber than to learn that perhaps maybe they're not right all the time, or maybe while they're right for themselves, it may not be right for someone else. That's pragmatism. Because that whole behavior about telling people you're doing keto wrong, or that's not keto, or just that whole sort of abusive behavior and toxicity, it's a turnoff. I think that a lot of people, they want to be part of something. They came into this keto community. They want to experience it. They want to experience the benefits. They want to experience the better health. But I feel that this is a horse that I kick on a regular basis, and I think I've kicked it enough for this podcast. Periodically, I will do a segment called Keto in the News. Usually it's some article bad-mouthing keto, but this one is actually, it's not about keto specifically, but it may have some impact on those of us in keto. In fact, it will. And this is an article from the Daily Meal. I will link to it down in the description below. It's the 13 food shortages to expect in 2023. And I hope by reading it, it doesn't get people running out and, trying to stock up on all of these things. Maybe it will. Toilet paper is not on the list, so we're good there. But number one shortage to expect in the upcoming year is beef. That doesn't thrill me. Now, those of us on keto know that prices went up quite a bit last year on beef. According to Beef Magazine, what a great magazine title that is. According to Beef Magazine, in 2022, there was a 5.6% decline in the consumption of beef, which is the biggest decline in 40 years. And it sounds like that, due to a drought in Texas, which is responsible for 14% of U.S. beef, we're going to continue to see high prices in the coming year. So, bummer. Number two, lettuce. So I do, and I know a number of you do, as part of keto, consume healthy leafy greens. I don't know, are there unhealthy leafy greens? Probably. But lettuce, this bothers me less because I've got a garden. I got a ton of lettuce seed. I can make my own lettuce. Not a huge deal. Number three, beer. Probably a non-issue for those of us on keto. Number four, champagne. See number three, beer. Number five, oranges. Not going to bother me at all. Number six, cooking oil. Now, interestingly, it's going to be mostly oilseed crops such as soybeans, sunflowers, peanuts, rapeseed, and canola. I thought canola and rapeseed were the same thing. Just canola is the more friendly name for it, but I'm pretty sure in Canada and elsewhere it's referred to as rapeseed oil. Just canola in the U.S., I think. If I'm wrong about that, someone will let me know down in the comments, I'm certain. The reason for this is the vast majority of oilseed crops are harvested in Russia and Ukraine, and due to the fighting there, well, less supply. Number seven is butter. Ooh, that scares me a little bit, because I like butter. And this is due to a labor shortage in the farming industry here in the U.S. It says last year there was a 9.1% average price increase on butter, and we can expect to see some more overall. Butter supply, it says, is the lowest it has been since 2017. Number eight, corn. Not an issue for keto. Number nine, eggs. Oh, this kills me. I mean, because we've already been experiencing it. It seems to me that it was not that long ago I was able to get a dozen eggs for $1, give or take. Now, oh, it's brutal. $5, $6, $7 a dozen? Ugh. And I was going to do a big series on eggs, before all of this started happening. And a lot of it, I guess, is due to the avian flu, and it's wiped out a significant amount of the egg-producing chickens here in this country. But I was going to do a big series on eggs on this channel because it's a less expensive way to get our protein and fat and stay on keto. But not right now. We'll have to wait on that series. Number 10, tomatoes, which we don't consume a ton of on keto. And again, I've got a garden, so I can grow my own. Number 11 is bread, and this also has to do with the Russian-Ukraine war because a significant amount of the world's grain is produced in that area. But for those of us on keto, not a big deal. Number 12, another bummer, olive oil. And this is due to a, quote, tree-blighting bacteria of Latin American origin called, oh boy, I don't know, Xylella fastidiosa? I don't know. Something like that. It's probably never a word or words that I will use in conversation again, but it is a blight that has infected Italy, where 12% of all olive-growing trees are located. And number 13, infant formula, which fortunately I'm well past the need for that. So anyhow, kind of an interesting article on the things that drive some of the prices here, both inside keto and in the food world in general. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be it for this podcast. As always, I just want to let you know how much all of you mean to me, how much I appreciate you, how glad I am that we get to spend this time together, both in the podcast as well as just whatever we're doing on the channel. So, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.